like to take a moment to thank our valued sponsors. John Travis, a financial coach and certified Kingdom advisor with Richard Young Associates, a registered investment advisor. We'd also like to thank Sense of Satisfaction by Cricket. And a special thanks goes to Paul H. Bush, the Burning Bush. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this show may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors. And if you would like to sponsor, please reach out. We'd love to have you. It's time to hear the story, make the connection, learn the lesson, and gain the wisdom. Are you ready? Let's get charged and be changed. The Sister Speak Brother Break Show. Conversations on grace, healing, and deliverance. This is Marcy Bush. Come on, let's journey together.
I discovered him that Sunday morning, and all I did was scream and holler. I wasn't even together enough to call 911. Okay. So my husband did that. He called 911. They gave him instructions over the phone. The EMS came, resuscitated Andre. At that point, we don't even know how long he had been without oxygen. Okay. Found him unresponsive. Okay. No pulse, no breathing. He stayed in ICU, I think about 2 weeks. Okay. And at that time, I discovered what Bishop said. Always, before you marry, make sure you see how this man acts under pressure. Okay. So he couldn't even handle going to the hospital to visit Andre. Okay. He couldn't handle something happened to my kid. Mm-hmm. And so now he's going to be mentally challenged. Mm-hmm. He's going to have some physical disabilities. Mm-hmm. He couldn't handle that. Okay. He was the type that would sweep it under the rug, pretend it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Well, I can't do that because I'm a mother. Right. So he gives me an ultimatum. Well, pretty much an ultimatum. You gonna bring Andre? We gonna put him in the institution? Because he had been the doctor had been talking to us about putting him in an institution. Okay. He said, I have a special needs child, and my child's in the institution. And it was like, oh, the light went off on my husband, like, okay, hey, that's the answer. We're gonna put Andre in an institution. So he said something to me about bringing Andre home, and I said, yes, we're gonna bring him home. You wanna bring him home? We don't put him in no, we're not gonna put him in an institution. I'm his mother. And I'm gonna bring him home and take care of him. Yes. There is no question about that. So it got down to him wanting me to choose between him and Andre. Well, you lost. Right. I've got to take care of my child. Yes. But in the midst of all of that, I called my church, because that's all I knew, Marcy. If I don't know nothing else, I know, okay, we're gonna call the church, call somebody at the church or something. Anyway, he met with me, the pastor did, Pastor Chip Murray. I'll never forget him. And he talked to me about the situation, talked to me about Andre, and he offered to talk to my husband. He said, tell your husband to call me. Okay. I told him, I told Pastor Chip Murray, won't you go? Pastor Murray want me to call him. And I guess it kind of threw him aback, because he had been going to the church, but he wasn't he wasn't vested in the church. Okay. He didn't have a relationship with anybody in the church. So here I come and I get involved in the church. Right. And I started meeting some of the people and fellowshipping, So anyway, he did follow through. Okay. of course, whatever Pastor Murray said, he didn't like it. So he rebelled and he stopped going. And he tried to get me to stop going. But in the meantime, Pastor Murray visited Andre, and he paired me with one of his ministers, female minister, that I could talk to. So I went for sessions with her, counseling sessions. Best thing that could have happened to me. It helped me to keep my sanity. Because we don't know, when we don't experience things firsthand, you don't know the impact that it has on an individual. And by the same token, when somebody is nice and they reach out to you and provide support, you just don't know the impact that has. And just him doing those simple things, and his minister Carmen calling me and meeting with me, and you know, them taking the time, that meant so much, because I was all the way in California, you know, hundreds of miles from my family.
And see, I think when you talk about Andre, I think that was the first time I always thought that SIDS, so I thought, because it's sudden infant death syndrome, I thought everybody who went through SIDS passed away. I didn't know about, okay, it's still called SIDS, even if they're revived, even if they're resuscitated. So I did not know that before then.
Crib death, yes.
And so once you and Andre, once you said, yes, he's coming home with me, and you brought him home, what did you go home in California? Or did you bring him straight here?
I brought him to Georgia.
You brought him straight here?
Yeah. Well, I went home, I'm sorry. I went home to California first. And that's when we decided, okay, I'm going to get a divorce. And I just packed up and came on here. Well, I later found out he didn't really want that, but it was a tool of manipulation to get me to do what he wanted me to do. So, but...
So how old was Andre when you moved back to Georgia, you recall?
How old was he? It was right after the SIDS incident, so maybe 3 months.
Oh, so like you were only home like a little bit, I mean, California just a little bit.
Right after that. I think we got it. It might have been a matter of months, Marcy. He might have been 6 months old. If that old. I can't remember.
That's fine. So how was the transition once you came back home? How was that?
It was easy because I was in a familiar setting with familiar people who loved me. Who said, no matter what it cost. I mean, they started turning. Packed up my car, because I had a car out there. I took my car from here, there. So all of my belongings, everything, moved it back here. And Andre and I got on the airplane, and we were back. And just went back to my mom's house. And just fell back in step. Started back to going to church. Started back to playing the piano in church. Started. What else did I do?
So were you working, or were you in? Did you go to school, or you were at home mom at that point?
Let me see. Oh, when I came back, I started the teacher certification program at Payne. As soon as I got back, one of my uncles, my mom's oldest brother, asked me. He said, "Have you considered teaching?" And I said, "Teaching? No, Lord, I don't want to be a teacher. Teachers don't make any money, and I don't want to be bothered with other folks' children."
You ain't lying about neither one of them, but go ahead.
And so he started laying out, you work a Monday through Friday job, you have benefits, you're off on the weekends, you gotta have some means to take care of your son. And so I thought about it, okay, well, let me investigate. So I did, because I was desperate. I needed a job. Found out that I could go back to school and get my certification in just a matter of months. They had just started the fast track program at Payne College.
Okay.
You pay this huge lump sum of money, and I think in 3 months you had your certification.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which meant I had to take a whole lot of classes on top of each other and do the certification.
Okay.
So anyway, did that, got certified, started teaching, fell in love with it. And I said, oh my God, this is where I was supposed to be all along.
Yeah.
So all of those things got bumped me where I was supposed to be from the start.
Okay. Okay.
And today I miss it. I mean, I still love it, you know, so it worked out.
How, during that time, what were some of the things, even with Andre, as he began to get older, were there anything, were you prepared for the life that you would have? I mean, once you knew, you know, once he survived SIDS.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't know a lot about it. Do you feel like they had given you the information, or you had the insight to know the journey that was ahead with Andre?
I had no idea.
Okay.
It was brand new.
Okay.
I'd seen special needs kids. My daddy worked at Gracewood, so we were out there, you know, a lot of times with him around special needs individuals. But I had no knowledge of it other than the contact at school. So the Lord so graciously put me on the path of people, parents of special needs kids, who could give me information that I wouldn't have found out otherwise. So many things are hidden from us that we don't know, and we discover because of our own experiences. So I became familiar with the laws, the resources that are out there for parents with special needs kids. I was introduced to a whole new way of life and the demands on parents of children with special needs, because you know, you first of all, I told you I became social in college. Always going, always partying. The club was my favorite place.
We know you love to dance.
Love the club. And I love the club because I love to dance. And I love the atmosphere and the people. But when I became a parent of a special needs child, all of that just about ceased because I couldn't leave him with anybody. Even with my family. Family loves you, but they have a limit.
And then probably that fear there that I don't want nothing to happen on my watch.
And that too. Because one of my aunts even reiterated, when my daddy would keep Andre, he would be on pins and needles. Because he didn't want anything to happen on his watch. And then it's difficult finding people that you can trust to leave your child with. And then to have a child who can't advocate for himself, can't even speak and tell you when something's wrong. I had to sense when something wasn't right, or when someone wasn't right. So that cut down on a lot of my social activity. Like Bishop was saying during minister's class that particular Saturday, a lot of places you couldn't go and things you couldn't do, you know, because you didn't have anybody to watch your child, or they didn't have what you needed to accommodate him. So it was a whole new way of life. But I know it was the grace of God. I worked full-time job, taking care of other folks' children, and loving it, and went to school full-time. Sometime with Andre across my lap,
Really?
Rocking him while I'm reading or typing a paper. It wasn't nobody but God.
Right.
Because I was a full-time parent, full-time teacher, full-time student. Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't nobody but God.
Yeah, that was God.
Wow.
That was God.
And so Andre was nonverbal. And he wasn't able to walk.
Right.
And so, was he able to use his hands? I know he would move his hands, but could he control them to do anything?
Occasionally, he might do something intentional. Like if I lean over, I'd be playing with him and lean over, and he'll reach up and hit my head or something. I say, "Ow, that hurt," and he'd laugh. That was so funny to him. But a lot of it was hand over hand. You know, you had to kind of do it for him.
Right. Okay. But and so at some point you moved from your mom's house, and it was just you and Andre, correct?
Right. I had my own apartment.
Okay.
Wanted to be independent, and then it was also a pivotal time in my walk with the Lord. As I was, you know, when you're trying to develop a relationship with the Lord, the enemy will fight you. And sometimes that fight comes from the people you love.
Right.
And not because they want to fight, but sometimes don't understand.
Right.
And so I just felt like it was best for me to have my own place.
Okay.
So I did that, and did that for a few years, and then moved back to my original house where I am now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, where I grew up.
So you ended up full circle.
Full circle.
Okay.
Full circle.
So you were doing everything you had to do with Andre, like you said. Y'all were back in your home, the two of you, and so were there. I know you said you had to really use discernment to know which healthcare workers were a good fit and which were not.
Right.
How was that? How soon did you find? Did it take a lot before you found ones that you really truly felt comfortable with?
Not really. Once the monies came through, because I was allotted some money from the state to pay for care, I started praying about somebody that I could hire, to bring in to the house. And the Lord is a funny thing. He is funny. He pointed out a young lady to me that had been taking care of my grandmama and granddaddy.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, Lord, I don't think I want her, because I think she mean. She too mean looking or something. But anyway, that's who we selected. Okay. So I talked to her, and she agreed to come and meet Andre and check out the situation, and turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to the two of us.
That's so good.
She was the most beautiful individual. Aww. But just looking at her exterior, and how she, carried herself, I was like, But that just lets you know, you just don't know the treasure that's in an individual, and you can't determine just by looking on the outside. So through her, I was able to get a couple more people who were good and reliable. So we had a great team.
Good.
I had some challenges with a couple of people, but overall, it was a great team.
Good.
I couldn't have asked for better.
Very good. So now, in the midst, during that time, I know there were more health challenges that developed. When did that happen? And what did that look like?
Okay. If I back up to the initial onset of lupus, I lost my kidneys. Okay. Ended up having to go on dialysis.
So how far into it did you end up?
About a couple of years.
Really?
They tried some preventive things but including chemotherapy, did not work.
Really? So Andre was what, like 3, 4?
Andre might have been maybe 2.
Okay.
It was pretty early.
Okay.
After I had Andre.
Okay.
So I ended up on dialysis. I think that first time was 15 months. And then my sister gave me one of her kidneys.
Okay.
And then
That's such a blessing.
And I wasn't gonna ask her for a kidney or take one from her. She insisted. She had never been sick, never been in the hospital, testing needles, things like that.
Okay.
She went through all of that evaluation process, gave me a kidney. It lasted for 15 years.
Okay.
And then I went back on dialysis.
Okay.
And my auntie, my mother's only sister, gave me a kidney.
Really?
And she volunteered. I didn't ask. And her kidney lasted for about 11 years up until last year.
Okay.
So in June of last year, I became sick. I was developed staph infection. June of last year, 21.
Okay. Okay.
Well, actually, I was sick before then, but we didn't know what the issue was.
Okay.
So about April, when we had our SisterSpeak meeting, and I was so sick that weekend. Everything was going really well. And that Saturday afternoon after we had lunch, and I started feeling sick. I had been feeling those things before, but it was more, that was the most intense that I'd ever felt. The pain, the stomach upset, all of that. It was just crazy that weekend. Yes. That Saturday. And even that taping, that initial taping, with that, when I had on that yellow blouse, that table, and I'm looking like this, because I couldn't move.
We were around that table, and I remember in the house that we were in, they had the heated mattress, or the I think it was a heated mattress.
It was.
And you said that helped you.
That helped me. I had that plus heating pads on, and it was just awful. That was the worst I'd ever felt. And I mean, I was sick as 3 dogs. Yeah. And so doing that taping was a strain.
I know. I know, and every time I see the opening, I'm grateful, you know, and I thank God you pressed through.
It took a press. It took a press, Marcy.
Yes, I know it
did. It took a press. And as soon as we finished that taping, I went home and got into bed. Okay. And things were just downhill after that. I ended up having to leave work a week early. When it's moved in with my mother, that's how sick I was, because I was afraid to be at home by myself. I stayed with her maybe a week, and then one night my body froze. I couldn't move. I had to call a friend of mine to get me up off the bed. I couldn't even, I was lying on the bed and I couldn't even sit up. And I told my mother then, Mama, call the ambulance. I got to go to the hospital. I got to go now. And at some point, I must have been, I don't know if in ICU or in the, there's a unit that's above.
PCU?
That's right. Yeah, it might have been that. I don't even remember. It's like I blacked out and lost some days. When my doctor said I was in that particular unit, whatever that was, and he had spoken to the nurse, you know, come and check on some of his patients. He didn't even come check on me. It just so happened that he showed up. And said the nurse said my sickest patient is that one right there. I think he said my room number was 610 or something. He remembered the room number. And he said the nurse was just running down the list of things that was wrong with me. He said, Miss Baugh, you're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be dead. If it wasn't for the Lord, he said, people don't get as sick as you were and live. So I was like, okay, wow. And it still didn't register to me how sick I must have been. My mother said that the doctors described my blood as being like a syrup. And then cleaning up her house, she found 2 CDs with my name and the date on them. The CDs are DVDs from the hospital, I guess, where the doctor put some notes or something on. And I haven't looked at them yet. I've been kind of just waiting. They're sitting and I just look at them. But he and one other doctor talked about how sick I was.
So what did they say? What were some of the things that were wrong?
Well, I ended up having to have 2 valves replaced. My aortic
2
valve.
heart valves.
And my, gosh, I can't think of it, my mitral valve and my tricuspid had to be repaired. So my heart was like almost dead. So the ticking that we heard in the very beginning before we started is the mechanical valves that are clicking. Keeping me alive. So that had to be done.
So much for joining us today. If you've been blessed by today's show, feel free to let us know. And if you'd like to sow into this ministry, become a sponsor, or contact us, you can reach us at 803-221-0169. Or you can email us at the ssbbshow@gmail.com. Let's continue this journey together. Missed any of our past episodes?
The pain that I've gone through, I've been through lots. Depression, perversion, low self-esteem, rejection. But I'm here, and I'm loving life, and I'm changed forever. I'm trying to maim you to leave you, like physically and mentally, maim you. He wanted your life.
I don't think he so much wanted my life is that he wanted some results. He wanted me to stay in the earth and not be who I am now.
Piece where you start talking about it was your love walk.
Yes.
We had an opportunity to not only share our experience, but find out that there were so many women in the room who had similar experiences.
Advice would you give to people who find themselves in the grips of grief right now?
The pain is inevitable, but the suffering is optional.
You were still sick, you still weren't well, but did something change for you when they gave it a name?
Yes, because once they put a label on it, I felt like it was putting a label on me.
Catch up on past shows on my YouTube channel at Marcy Bush, MarceyBush. And be sure to subscribe so you won't miss any future episodes.